Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Majjhima Nikaya Summary and Practice series. Lesson 9, the Discourse on Right View, Sammādiṭṭhi Sutta. Today, we will explore the Discourse on Right View, Sammādiṭṭhi Sutta, the 9th discourse in the middle-length discourses, Majjhima Nikaya. This discourse was delivered by Venerable Sammādiṭṭhi, the Buddha's foremost disciple in wisdom. It is one of the clearest and most systematic explanations of what right view truly means. After hearing about this teaching, the Buddha highly praised Venerable Sammādiṭṭhi's explanation. In Buddhism, right view is not simply having the correct opinions or memorizing religious teachings. It is the ability to see reality as it truly is. It is the wisdom that helps us understand ourselves, understand life, and recognize the real causes of suffering and happiness. Without right view, even sincere effort can lead in the wrong direction. With right view, every step of practice gradually moves us toward freedom. According to Venerable Sammādiṭṭhi, this correct understanding begins with something surprisingly practical, learning to distinguish between wholesome and unwholesome actions. He explains that killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, false speech, harsh speech, divisive speech, idle chatter, greed, hatred, and wrong view are unwholesome. The roots of all unwholesome actions are greed, hatred, and delusion. Wholesome actions arise when these roots are gradually abandoned and replaced with generosity, kindness, wisdom, and right view. This teaching reminds us that good and evil do not begin outside us. They begin in the mind. When greed, hatred, and delusion are present, suffering follows. When these unwholesome roots gradually weaken, peace naturally grows. Venerable Sammādiṭṭhi then helps us understand another important aspect of right view. Every intentional thought, word, and action has consequences. Our choices shape the direction of our lives. As we repeatedly cultivate wholesome actions, we gradually create the conditions for wholesome results. When we repeatedly cultivate unwholesome actions, we also create the conditions for future suffering. This principle of cause and effect runs throughout the Buddhist teaching. Rather than blaming luck, fate, or other people, we learn to take responsibility for the causes we create every day. The discourse then turns to one of the deepest causes of suffering, craving and clinging. Whenever we desperately cling to what we like or strongly resist what we dislike, suffering appears. The problem is not that pleasant and unpleasant experiences exist. The problem is our attachment to them. As we begin to observe craving, instead of blindly following it, the mind gradually becomes lighter, freer, and more peaceful. One of the most profound sections of this discourse explains the principle of dependent arising, also known as the 12 links of dependent arising. Beginning with ignorance, a chain of conditions unfolds through volitional formations, consciousness, name and form, the 6 sense bases, contact, feeling, craving, clinging, becoming, birth, and aging and death. This chain explains how suffering arises and continues through a series of interconnected conditions. It also shows that everything arises because of causes and conditions. Nothing exists independently or by itself. Everything depends upon causes and conditions. Because everything is conditioned, there is no permanent, unchanging self behind our experience. Understanding this gradually weakens our attachment to the ideas of I, me, and mine. Throughout the discourse, Venerable Sammādiṭṭhi examines many important topics, including wholesome and unwholesome qualities, nutriment, the Four Noble Truths, aging and death, birth, becoming, clinging, craving, feeling, contact, the six sense bases, name and form, consciousness, volitional formations, ignorance, and the mental defilements known as the taints. Each topic is explained in the same practical way. First, we understand what it is. Then, we understand how it arises. Next, we understand how it ceases. Finally, we understand the path leading to its cessation. This repeated structure teaches us an important lesson. Right view is not simply learning definitions. It is learning to understand every experience by seeing its causes, the conditions that support it, how it comes to an end, and the path that leads beyond suffering. The central message of the Sammādiṭṭhi Sutta is both profound and practical. True transformation begins with seeing things correctly. When we understand the causes of suffering, we can stop creating them. When wisdom gradually replaces ignorance, the path to liberation naturally opens before us. That's all for the summary. Let's now move on to the practice.
Practice. Hello, everyone. To apply the teachings of this discourse in daily life, we can begin with the following 8 practices. 1. Pause before every important action. Before speaking or acting, stop for a few seconds and ask yourself, is this wholesome or unwholesome? Will it bring peace or suffering? Even this brief pause helps cultivate right view and encourages wiser choices. 2. Observe greed, hatred, and delusion in your own mind. Whenever desire, anger, jealousy, fear, or confusion arises, simply recognize it. Quietly note, this is greed, this is anger, or this is delusion. Clear awareness prevents the mind from being carried away by these unwholesome states. 3. Reflect on cause and effect. Before making decisions, remind yourself that every intentional thought, word, and action has consequences. This simple reflection encourages greater responsibility and helps us make wiser choices in everyday life. 4. Look for conditions instead of someone to blame. When difficulties arise, instead of asking, "Whose fault is this?" ask, "What conditions led to this situation?" This way of thinking develops wisdom, patience, and compassion, while reducing anger and resentment. 5. Observe the arising and passing away of feelings. Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings all arise and pass away. Rather than clinging to them or resisting them, simply observe their changing nature. As this understanding deepens, craving gradually loses its strength. 6. Practice letting go a little each day, whether it is an opinion, a possession, an expectation, or the desire to control others. Practice releasing your attachment little by little. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means freeing the mind from unnecessary suffering. 7. Reflect on your day every evening. Spend a few quiet minutes reviewing your day. Ask yourself, what wholesome qualities did I develop today? When did greed, hatred, or delusion appear? Honest reflection gradually strengthens right view and encourages continuous growth. 8. Be patient with your progress. Do not expect immediate perfection. Simply try to understand a little more clearly, respond a little more wisely, and cling a little less than yesterday. Small improvements, practiced consistently, lead to profound transformation. Conclusion. The Sammādiṭṭhi Sutta teaches us that right view is much more than having correct beliefs or memorizing Buddhist teachings. It's the wisdom to see life as it truly is, to understand wholesome and unwholesome actions, the principle of cause and effect, the origin of suffering, and the path leading to its end. Although this discourse was delivered by Venerable Sariputta, the Buddha later praised his explanation as a faithful presentation of the Dhamma. Rather than asking us to believe blindly, this teaching encourages us to observe our own experience and discover the truth for ourselves. As our understanding becomes clearer, our thoughts become wiser, our speech becomes kinder, and our actions become more compassionate. Little by little, greed, hatred, and delusion lose their strength, while wisdom, peace, and inner freedom naturally grow. This discourse also reminds us that every ordinary moment of daily life can become part of our practice. Every choice we make, every relationship we build, and every challenge we face is an opportunity to cultivate right view. In summary, the message of the Sammādiṭṭhi Sutta is simple, practical, and timeless. Right understanding is the foundation of the entire Noble Eightfold Path. When we see reality clearly, we stop creating unnecessary suffering. And when wisdom gradually replaces ignorance, the path to lasting peace and liberation naturally unfolds. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again in the next lesson.